I've listened to your black ass talk all day about how much you can't stand black folks.
Ain't two of them in the history of the world that's worth a squirrel for it.
Oh, how much you love white folks.
Best thing the good Lord ever did for the planet Earth.
If anybody knows about the Hodgetwins, you know they're two brothers. I believe Kevin and Keith. And they've been now right-winging it up, anti-Israel for about the last 5 or 6 years, at least on their channel.
Well, this shit's about to get really interesting. As soon as I seen O'Shea Duke Jackson and Amazing Lucas, I said, oh no. And then the Hodgetwins, my boys, they fell off. I just couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it. But we're about to react to this and see what this is about. Now, if you're going to be enjoying this channel, I'm sorry. If you would like the video, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe.
And they have a podcast in which they invite people. I believe they're in Las Vegas. And so when they invite people to their podcast, typically people will pull up. Now, what's important to know here is when you come to their podcast, you are paying your own way. All right. And this is exactly what happened with the Amazing Lucas.
And they hit me up. I'm like, yo, what are we talking about? He's like, okay, we're going to be talking about this. Let's get a date. I'm like, bet, right? I'm in LA, they in Vegas. So I spend time, I spend money to come to this podcast. There's me, the Hodgetwins, this other black guy, another black guy, and then this Arab, right? The Palestinian.
All right, for clear context, Amazing Lucas is talking about C-Snacks, and he's talking about, I think it's this other guy, I think his name is even Chris, right? He's also, I guess, like their producer or whatever, or just a guy that works with them. But when I first was like actually seeing like both sides, like, Amazing Lucas and the Hodgetwins, because I've seen the Hodgetwins a lot more than I've seen like Amazing Lucas. Like, I know who he is, but it's just that, it's sort of disappointing because you would think that, maybe everybody would be on the same team and everybody would say like the same viewpoints and about what's really going on. But then when you really think about it, the Hodgetwins just really like sided with their white audience and their white audience more over like the black community and just saying like, oh, they all bad, they're all this, they're all that. And then it's just like, damn, it's sad too, because when everybody kept on talking about the Hodgetwins and how they really fell off, at the time I didn't really get it because I'm like, nah, what you mean? They're sort of funny. They're still funny to me. But then when I was really starting to see more and more, I said, fuck, my boys. And then even when I seen O'Shea Duke Jackson make like the video, and then even they admitted themselves, they was like, yeah, we know what we're doing. We're catering to our white audience and shit like that. And then you heard C-Snacks was like, hey, man, you got to pay those bills. I was like, fuck. You fucking guys, what the fuck's wrong with you? You lost your fucking mind. Oh my God. Fucking imbeciles, damn it. Fucking imbeciles. But it's just sad, It's just fucking sad. Very disappointing at that too. But I'm gonna let him carry on.
And we're going back and forth. And eventually it's looking bad for them.
The Amazing Lucas is an excellent YouTuber. Understand when I say excellent. He's like top notch. He was invited to go to this interview, and like he said, he noticed that it was them, it was some black people around, and then there was a Palestinian guy. I don't know if the Palestinian guy was working some level of sound or production, but he was there. And the Amazing Lucas is a very smart guy. Like, he's very witty. I've heard him debate people live before. He'd be pretty tough for the average person to debate, especially somebody like the Hodgetwins.
Got him!
Who are really not that bright or creative or can really respond well intellectually to somebody on the same level as him. So, and this is the reason why he says he was getting the better of the both of them at the same time, which it makes sense because frankly, the Hodgetwins are not very smart guys. They're just not. They don't articulate very well. They don't think their ideas through. And, they're just kind of like the black version of Jake Shields. But anyways, as the arguments are going, and the Amazing Lucas was saying, hey, they had their facts off, they didn't know per capita, all these different things. The Amazing Lucas comes to a certain point where he's winning the debate so much that this Palestinian guy starts to jump in because the Hodgetwins literally have no defense and they're kind of on the ropes. And then this happened.
But the first time, he was like, oh, we're all N-words, right, to the Jews.
Uh-oh, I sense a reasonable crash out. Now, I know in the past, I think Lucas is like the type of person I know that he doesn't like tolerate, certain words said to him, and otherwise he will get in people's faces and shit like that. I know about that. A little bit of his backstory, just a little bit, right? Now if the Hodgetwins don't say anything about this, which I highly doubt they will, that's going to be some shit, because it's like you can't have this person who's not even a black man even saying those types of words, saying that everybody is all like that. It's like, what are you talking about? What the hell are you even talking about? And here's the thing. Lucas is on the podcast talking to the Hodgetwins. Why is anybody else interjecting? That's the first point. And it's like, what type of shop is the Hodgetwins is actually running? If you have anybody interject in y'all two having like a discussion, and it could be any type of discussion, and he shouldn't be interjecting, even if the Hodgetwins is losing the debate. He shouldn't be, or anybody who's even there shouldn't even be jumping in. Now, my only take is, I don't get why C Snacks is really there, though. I don't get that at all. Even when the Hodgetwins was even first starting up the whole shows and the podcast, my thing is, it's like, why was he even there in the first place? I mean, even though he didn't say or contribute too much to the show, because it was really all about them, but I'm like, why are you even there? You had a YouTube channel, my boy. It was called C Snacks. That's what your whole gimmick was. Clark C Snacks, eating sugar and sweets. But I guess his channel wasn't really booming like that, so he niched on to them. And damn it, this shit is just fucking messy. Oh my God, let him go off.
And I heard that. I'm like, what the F did you say, right? I get it. I'm not allowing someone to just say the hard R, right, in my presence. Now, no one else responded to it. The two black men that were sitting down didn't respond to it. The twins didn't respond to it. I'm the only one. So I'm in a room full of soldiers, bruh. And they have this Palestinian. He talks about how he fled Palestine because of what was going on, and now he's with his family. Right? He said to the Jews, we're all N-word. I'm like, you don't say that, right? I don't want to hear that word come out of your mouth, right?
So the N-word is thrown around, okay? So the Amazing Lucas is like, wait, hold on, man. You can't use that word. Now, this Palestinian guy, his point of view is, oh no. What I meant to say is the Jews look at all of us like that, not just me. So that was his cover the first time. But in response to that, the Amazing Lucas was trying to say, or he was saying, you shouldn't be using that word at all. You're Palestinian. That word does not belong in your mouth. And at a certain point, there was almost a physical altercation. The Amazing Lucas was warning him, like, listen, bro, if you keep using it, it will be a physical altercation. And then, according to the Hodgetwins, well, no, it won't be a physical altercation. You're not going to be able to do nothing.
Huh?
So you telling me, oh shit. So you telling me this man, you had a Palestinian say this shit, and they didn't even bother to just say, whoa, like, hold up, we trying to keep this professional here, and you got this man out here dropping the hard E. Oh my God. Oh, it sucks to hear all of this, man, because I was really fucking with these two. I love their comedy. I love their jokes. I was really down with all of that shit. And it's just sad to hear all of this, that these men, they never really cared. They only cater to their white audience and shit like that, because they like Brandon Tatum. They even had him on the podcast a few times. That's crazy. They had him and Myron, like the two people who hate black people. That's fucking nuts. I mean, when you really think about it, they had Nick Fuentes and David Duke on there, so I'm not really surprised. But golly, my fucking boys is going out fucking sad. Everybody just looking at these two like, man, they don't even understand nothing. They don't understand shit about nothing. Golly, this is fucking sad, but I'm going to let them carry it on.
And so it becomes a tense moment where, the Amazing Lucas, even though he's defeating them in the debate, he's not really trying to fight them, but they have this disrespectful guy that is there that basically, is saying the N-word and being very disrespectful towards black people. And what is shocking to him is that the Hodgetwins are just sitting back idly by, letting him do it. Then the Amazing Lucas, he reiterated about the low intellectual level of the Hodgetwins. Things about they didn't know per capita, they could not enunciate words, and he talked about that clearly.
Because they were asking, well, what do you think is the difference between us and you, right? Because they were trying, I think it was Kevin, he was trying to pronounce differentiation, and he couldn't pronounce it. He was like, what's the differentiation? I was like, well, one is that I can pronounce differentiation.
Yeah, that was what's the difference? That was pretty funny there. And I don't think that he's lying about this at all. Because if you've ever heard the Hodge twins, like they really have a hard time enunciating words. They really have a hard time putting like ideas together. There's an intellectual gap between the both of them. There again, I'm not trying to be mean.
I mean, people who selling out black people for that bag. I mean, at this point, you just got to say what you got to say at this point, you know?
But these guys are just not smart at all. You know, they can make money online. They can probably, regurgitate the same things. But the Hodge twins need to have a podcast in which the opposite person is an echo chamber. They are not going to do well with anybody who has fresh ideas, anybody that they have to push back on in real time. They're going to struggle. And they probably were struggling with somebody as bright as the amazing Lucas. They probably were struggling. All right. So because the podcast goes back on track and, the Hodge twins are having a hard time containing the amazing Lucas, they're talking about case studies. They're talking about different examples, and the Hodge twins cannot respond. You also hear this same Palestinian guy begin interrupting the, podcast again, right? So the amazing Lucas focuses his attention towards this guy, and this happens.
And that's when I was like, okay, this is borderline retardation. You're telling me because you get to fly, TSA doesn't impact your life. And it's like, it obviously does impact your life. What are you talking about?
But Brondo's got what plants crave.
It's got electrolytes.
I was just awestruck by the level of stupidity that was on display. And it came to racism, right? Because I brought up the study where it talks about, hey, there's a father in the household, that, there's a mother in the household, they live in an affluent neighborhood, right? They're, good income, that one of the factors that will determine if the child will go to prison, okay, is the racial bias of the people around them, the racial bias of the white people around them. They lose it. Oh, I don't believe you. I don't believe that. I'm like, you can look it up. What are you talking about? Then this fool starts interjecting whatever. I was like, why don't you shut the F up? Like, that's what you need to do. Shut the F up. So he says something like, blah, 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 F and N-word.
Shit. He said the words. I sense a crash out coming. Fist is going to be freaking thrown. Well, who knows? I don't know. They probably might just get in the way and stop him and be like, you can't swing on him. That's just crazy to even not just say, whoa, okay, let's not hire this person. Let's just get rid of this person. I don't know what type of shit show that they running. What type of podcast that they actually running where you're allowing this shit to take place? And knowing the disrespect, like, I mean, if anybody who did the history on, like, I guess the whole Palestinians and all, I mean, I heard some stories that some of them don't really get down with black people like that. So I heard some stories. So I'm like, I don't want to get into all that, but I heard some stories. But this shit is just fucking weird.
What did you say?
I'm like, that's when I get up. That's when I get up. I said, what the F did you say? The Hodge twins get up. They're like, hey, why are you going towards him, man? Why you getting in his face? I said, I'm not getting in his face. I'm asking him a question. I said, I'm asking him, hey, what the F do you say? So now I got the Hodge twins in front of me, right? The dynamic is insane. I got two black men, right, in front of me protecting a pale Arab Palestinian who had just called me a hard R.
Again, he challenged this guy about the use of the word. Now he's using this as a direct insult towards the amazing Lucas, which before he's saying, well, that's just how they view all of us. But now he's using it to his advantage. And again, he's shocked that the Hodge twins don't have anything to say about the behavior of this Palestinian host. And what do? They say, hey man, relax, it's just a word. What? Now, again, this is where the conversation gets deep. And I kind of really want to stick with it here. We could talk about other stuff that happened in the podcast, but the main idea was this. The Hodge twins, who say they want to see black people do better, invite this black person. This brother flies from the Los Angeles area to Las Vegas. He pays his own money to participate on their podcast. I mean, and again, this is what you get, right? You talk about black people need to do better in business. I mean, you're inviting this person to your podcast. He's spending his own money to come to your podcast. You're not trying to do anything like convenience him or anything like that. I mean, they have the money to fly this person out, but they don't want to.
Yeah, I bet if it was Nick Fuentes or David Duke, they probably most likely pay extra so that way they can come out. That's fucked up. I'm pretty sure they probably did some shit like
because
that.
they want stuff for free. But then sit around and talk about the dysfunctional behavior of black people in the black community when, you know, you're doing the same thing. You guys have millions of dollars. This guy has an opposition or opposing view to what you're thinking about. You guys can't even fly the guy out, put him up in a nice place, you know, and just make sure that things go in the right way. Not only that, you have a racist Palestinian man that is there interrupting the podcast, which would make the host feel uncomfortable, but yet you do not feel that that's important. And again, if that was somebody white or somebody like Jake Shields, he would have never allowed it to happen, all right? But he did allow it to happen. And then he's also telling him, hey man, you know, chill out. It's just a word, bro. It's not that serious. Like, you don't have to really get all upset. You know, don't let these words bother you. When in fact, you know, if you call somebody the N-word, that person is trying to inflict pain upon you. That's what they're doing. And they're only doing that because they don't have a response. They don't have anything else that they can say to defeat what you're talking about. And clearly, the amazing Lucas felt that he was there defeating whatever the Hodge twins had as an opposition or opposing view. And because of that, you had this Palestinian guy who should not have been in the conversation anyway, jumping into the conversation, and the Hodge twins are defending his right to disrespect this black guest who spent his own money, flew himself out there, bought his own food, bought his own housing, and then you have this guy, because obviously you're gonna monetize this video, you're gonna make money out of this video. You have this guy who has nothing to add to this conversation, but he's able to go ahead on and throw out these particular shots.
He's right, you know.
But then somehow the podcast seems to get back on track. And then again, they're talking and arguing, and then one of the Hodge twins says this.
Why don't you care? You should care, right? He's like, he's talking ill about black people. That's when Keith, no, not Keith, because Keith was on this side, Kevin. That's when Kevin comes out and says, I don't care about black people. I was like, there we go.
See, here's the thing I wanted to talk about. If you are a mixed person, like let's just say you are half black or half Hispanic, right? The best thing about being mixed is that you have two cultures, and it's always best to like, you know, look at both sides of the things, and you like, okay, you're representing Hispanics and you're representing blacks, and you're kind of in a mixture of both. And it's always great to learn both sides of the history and the story. And that's always great about being like a mixed person, right? I don't really see a person who's who's mixed as a bad thing, because you're getting to learn both sides, right? But if you have these clowns over here who's denying their black side, you're denying who have a father or mother who, made you be born, and you're denying, you know, their grandfather, their aunts. They're denying basically a half of their lineage, right? Just to please that one side, which is the white side, which it just doesn't make any sense at the end of the day, and is very disrespectful. And I'm pretty sure there's people out there who are mixed, don't even do half the shit that they're doing, where they do probably represent like both sides. Like, okay, they have black, they have Hispanic, or they have Asian, they have black, right? Maybe a little Trinidadian, a little Jamaican, right? A little African, maybe a little West African, right? They represent all of that. But you got these fools over here who says, well, fuck my black side. I'd rather just represent the white side. And it doesn't make any sense, because Nick Fuentes does the same thing. The man is half white, half Mexican, but that man does the same thing what the Hodge twins is doing. He denies his Mexican part, his Mexican heritage and that side of him, just to please the white side, because he's like, well, I'm fully am white, but you are half Mexican. So in the reality of things, if the Aryan race was actually true, right, and if they had it their way, anybody who's mixed would get kicked out. Like Nick Fuentes, even though you're saying the things that they're saying, but you're not fully white though. You don't have blonde hair and blue eyes. You may be saying the things that you are saying, and you are half, but what was the term they called them? It was a racist term that they called people who was like inbreeds or they was mixed. I forgot the term, but that's what they would call the Hodge twins in Nick Fuentes. But it's just crazy how they just deny their black side only to appease the white side and their white audience just for that bag. And it doesn't make any sense at all to even do that. It's fucking ridiculous.
There we go. All right. Glad you said it. I'm glad we got that on camera. He straight up said, I don't care about black people. And then he was like, and then he heard what he said. And then he was like, wait, let me clarify. Let me clarify. I don't care about any race.
So one of the guys says, I don't care about black people. They tries to fix it and say something different, like, oh, I don't care about anybody. Let me just say this. A lot of these guys shoot themselves in the face. And I get it. That money over there with the white right is, pretty easy and pretty good to get. I can just imagine because, the Hodgetwins are not that bright. It's not like they're innovating anything. They're not bringing anything new to the market. All they do is just little dusty reactions, a podcast, kind of offending Jews, offending blacks. I mean, it's very rudimentary. You can tell that they have not put any intellectual framework into what they're doing. And so now they don't want to release, the video. And this is why he put up this particular post on the 20th. Hodgetwins interview nearly ended in a brawl. Yes, some soldiers in real life, they have a white Palestinian calling black people hard R's and they think it's funny. Still waiting for the interview to be out just to see how much they edit. So guys, what do you
Man, at the end of the day, all of this to me is just sad because it's like, damn, they used to be my guys, man. I used to like watching their videos and laughing and shit like that. But damn, just to see them just go out this way and just appease like the white side, just deny everything about black people, but then yet they say, oh, we want to help black people, but then yet you making videos saying, you see, this is why we don't live around them. This is why they're bad. This is why they're this. This is why they're that. And it's like, you're not trying to help black people. You're trying to destroy them. You're one of the cruxes in this world, like him, Brandon Tatum, right? Myron, all these people out there who are the cruxes in the system that wants to just destroy black people because they don't give two shits about them. But then they realize that white people don't give any shits about black people. Well, not all of them, but just the racist one out there don't really give two shits about black people. And yet you got these idiots out here who's like champion for the white man, right, when they should be uplifting the black man. But unfortunately, they don't really see it that way. They just see it as, well, fuck the blacks, and I just rather get that white bag. And it's like, damn, man, that's just fucking sad. That's just fucking sad. But that's going to be it for today's video. Like, comment, subscribe, and share. This is all fucking crazy, and I'm getting the fuck out of here, man. This is sad.
Ruckus, how could you possibly love white people so much?
It's easy. Have you ever looked at them? White man just a joy to be around. They smell like lemon juice and pledge furniture cleaner.